John the 11th chapter, the 1st through the 43rd verse. Very familiar passage of scripture, very familiar story to many of us. John the 11th chapter, 1st through the 43rd verse. And I want you to find it and follow along with me. John 11, verses 1 through 43. I want to preach from the topic today, you don't live on my street.
Yes.
You don't live on my street.
Yes.
This title comes from a poem by Dr. Ribera Faustin Elliott. And this poem says, so you want to know why I'm always high and why you never ever see me cry. Why do I shoot up all this junk? Have you ever seen your dad sloppy drunk? Sure, I would like to have more knowledge, but my dad drank up my money for college. So how can you look at me with such conceit when you don't even live on my street? So you want to know why I ran away from home? Why in boarded up buildings I'm hiding each day? You want to know why I choose to steal, do what I have to get a meal? I don't worry about getting good grades. All I worry about now is getting AIDS. Look at you with your life so sweet, but you don't live on my street. You ask me why at 14 I'm having this baby. Am I ignorant, retarded, or just plain lazy? What on earth was I thinking about? I was hoping my mother wouldn't put me out. See, your mama's boyfriend ain't messing with you and putting his hands on your sister too. No, the 7th grade I didn't complete, but hey, you don't live on my street. So you want to know why I dropped out of school? How many times can you be called a fool? Ever since the 1st grade, I've been called slow, so I wouldn't give the answer even if I did know. And how am I supposed to concentrate when I can't even remember the last time I ate? Do you live every day with defeat? Then no, you don't live on my street. You ask me why I stay with him when he beats my head again and again. You wonder why I don't get upset when he makes each drunken idle threat. Well, do you have rats running across your head when you lay down on your broken down bed? Do you have shoes to cover your feet? Then you don't live on my street. Do you want to know why I ain't raising my child? Well, you know I ain't worked in a while. You want to know why I don't keep in touch? It's buying some Pampers asking too much. Can I start coming around the place? I'm ashamed to let my child see my face. You're supposed to get out the kitchen if you can't stand the heat. So no, you don't live on my street. You don't know a thing about me, but there are some things that you must see. Until you have walked in my shoes for a while and had a taste of my lifestyle, until you have lived in my house and given a name to each mouse, until you have seen your mama get beat, you don't even live on my street. Until you have walked my walk, until you have talked my talk, until you have knelt down on my knees, until you have eaten my government cheese, until you have smelled life through my nose, until you have worn my pantyhose, until you have seen life through my eyes, until you have worn my dress size, until you have heard life through my ears, until you have cried some of my tears, until you have lived inside of my head, until you have laid down in my bed, until you have read what's on my mind, until you have stood in my my welfare line, until you have been called out of my name, until you have felt some of my shame, until you have sold some of my dope, until you have lost all of my hope, until you have stood under my reign, until you have felt some of my pain, until you have eaten what I've had to eat, then understand this: you don't live on my street. On this Black Church National Day of Prayer for the healing of AIDS, I think it is most appropriate to talk from the topic, you don't live on my street. It is not my intent to paint a picture